Rick, I'm going to go ahead and if you want to introduce your moderators, you can. Otherwise, you can just take it away. So I'll let you.
Sure. No, I appreciate it, Jack. And then thank you for inviting me to this and gave me a reason to actually take a shower and shave and dress up. I've been working remote for a good month now. So yeah, sorry, David. Got to put you on the spot there.
You really are.
So, our panel today, I have David Hope, who's obviously been working from home for a while. He's with Chrono Golf. He's our senior manager of business development there. Tim, who spoke earlier, CEO of iZone, and Bodo Sieber, also CEO for Tag Marshall, is going there. They're going to present for us how we're using technology to bring customers back and retain customers as well, utilizing technology. So, I think each of them have a presentation. I'll start with David for maybe a brief introduction before you get into your presentation.
Sure. Mind if I bring up my screen? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, hey everybody, my name is David Hope. I am the senior manager at Chrono Golf by Lightspeed. Really excited to be part of this panel. I think technology is playing a real significant role in not only golf today with the state of the current world, but a lot of pretty much all commerce out there. Super excited to share with you what we've identified and we've noticed from our customer base, and also looking at other industries and how they're responding to this and how they're implementing some technology that might be foreign to them, but they're actually using this opportunity to try out new things and try to stay afloat. So in today's presentation, pretty much going to be going over some basic educational content. We're going to look at how some of the pieces of our technology are actually benefiting some of our users today. Obviously including online booking. As you can see, the whole world today is pretty much shifting to an online channel. And I think it's important to understand what your tools that you guys have at your golf course, forget about us in general, can actually, how they can be leveraged to address today's current states. We'll talk a bit about self-service, some e-commerce stuff, and some delivery, and then we'll take some questions. Cool. So as a technology provider, we currently cater to about 1,000 golf courses, and our parent company Lightspeed has about 65,000 customers globally in retail and restaurant locations. I think with that responsibility, we have our own responsibility of making sure that our customers understand how to use our technology to weather storms such as this. So what are the best practices, and we need to train them on them. And more importantly, from an educational standpoint, make sure we put out original content in terms of best practices, and more importantly, aggregate information that's out there on the internet. So we actually created a COVID-19 resource center on our website. So if you visit our website, pro.chronogolf.com, or even just lightspeed.com, you'll see a little banner on top, and you'll be able to access not only original content, but we've taken some of our existing customers and written some blog posts on behalf of their experience. And more importantly, we've aggregated information from the NGCOA, from the PGA of America, and other media sources out there that we believe have created some really, really interesting, kind of how to handle the situation content. So I would strongly encourage you to visit our resource center, and we've linked pretty much every major blog or white paper that's been created regarding COVID-19 in the golfing space on that site. So before we hop into technology, I want to read a quote I came across the other day. So for those that are familiar with the payment processing world, there's a big company out there, which is one of our partners. It's actually the backbone of our payment platform. It's a company called Stripe. They're valued in the billions and billions of dollars. And one of their CEOs, after raising their latest round of financing a few weeks ago, quoted that people who never dreamt of using internet to see the doctor or buying groceries are doing so out of necessity. Any business that deferred moving online have made that leap practically overnight. So, if there were to be kind of like a silver lining in everything that's going on right now, it's the opportunity to kind of understand how we're doing things in golf, looking outside of golf and understanding what's working really, really well in other verticals, other industries, other spaces. For years and years and years, we've been telling ourselves, our customers don't want to book online, right? Our customers don't want to shop online, right? But I think there's a huge misconception here of, when you look at e-commerce and how pretty much every brick and mortar location out there in North America, or heck around the world, not only has a physical store, but they also have an online presence again. And the reality is that golfers are consumers. They want choice. They want to be able to, either walk into your pro shop, touch a soft good and make a decision to purchase it, or go online and see what your store has and then walk into the store and maybe buy it. So I think the big misconception with having an online presence and shifting part of your efforts to an online channel is that you're going to lose the foot traffic. But, all these restaurants out there that, are on DoorDash, Uber Eats, and, any delivery service, just because they've opened up that channel doesn't necessarily mean they've actually closed their table service for good, right? They're still offering walk-ins, they're still sitting down people, dining people, but they have opened up that other channel. And when you look at the restaurant landscape right now, and we can even talk about golf being part of that conversation, pretty much every restaurant in North America is closed down, but most of them are running dark kitchens, right? So we'll talk a bit about delivery and how some of our golf courses are actually leveraging some of the tech that we see so popular and being used everywhere at Lightspeed outside of golf, how golf courses are actually adopting that technology and implementing it and understanding the benefits of actually having these additional channels available for the consumers. So that was just my one quote of the day that I wanted to pull up. Okay, so from a technology standpoint, what are we seeing? Well, let's take a look from the consumer-facing side. Those golf courses that are fortunate enough to be open, we're seeing our customers obviously make sure they're sharing news on their booking engine. So whatever technology provider you're using today for an online booking tool, make sure that your customer is aware of new protocol. So for instance, on our booking tool, there's a new section before the customer even books a tee time, in your face, it lets you know what's happening at the club that day. Let them know of new protocol, give a contact number, anything they should be made aware of prior to getting to the golf course. That stuff needs to be communicated with them before their arrival.
David,
yeah.
Just real quick, are you giving them any sort of guidance on what to communicate and how to outwardly communicate to your customers?
Yeah, great question. So, as soon as this hit and the company mobilized home, we realized that, part of that responsibility to our customers to maybe educate them on some of these best practices. We don't want to, so we did walk through exactly all the things that we suggest they take action on to ensure, as you can see in the title here, a safer environment for not only the golfers, but the staff. But in terms of wording, I think the wording is a bit more personal and it should come directly from the golf course. So we opted out from writing original content and having the golf course actually use that paragraph or two and share that with their customers. We just kind of pointed them in the right direction and said, hey, make it your own, make it your language. And I think it'll be a little more genuine if it comes from you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So obviously opening up the online channel, meaning mostly means that your customers are going to have to be transactional online. So we're seeing a lot of golf courses forcing online payment, which, in all fairness, golf is kind of already set up for social distancing. So a lot of these booking engines out there offer that as a solution outside of the box. So please make sure that, if your golf course is still open, that you do shift to an online payment just to avoid any human interaction and just to speed up the check-in process. We're seeing a lot of clubs limit online reservations to 2 golfers. So they'll block their whole tee sheet or block 2 golfers on every tee time and only allow a maximum of 2 golfers at a time that can be booked online. The one thing that I do want to point out, and it's the image you can see on my screen. So a few months back, we launched a new product called Booking Extras, which basically allows the club to offer additional products during the booking process outside of your conventional round the golf and cart. So such as rental clubs, maybe a food and beverage voucher. And we got this idea from one of our customers. Somebody started offering food bank donations. And I thought that was pretty cool. They had like 4 tiers. They had $5, $15, $30, and $50 donations. So customers are actually able to add a donation during the booking process and actually pay for it online. And then hopefully the club is using that for those donations. So we're seeing customers get really creative with the technology that they have today. This was obviously a feature that was intended to allow customers to, pretty much let their golfers transact their whole day of golf online by adding these extras during the booking process. But to actually turn around and see customers using it this way during this crisis was quite impressive. And, I would shout the customer out right now, but they told me not to, because I guess they don't want to receive a bunch of phone calls. But, food bank donation, whatever it may be, that's a very, very creative way of actually using that module, which we didn't think of. And I think creativity is key right now if we actually want to come out of this positive.
Good point.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the online booking stuff. The next thing I want to talk about is self-service. So late last year, we launched a self-service kiosk, which is super cool. So if you've ever been to a grocery store or Farmer Pre or heck, anywhere else outside of golf, most customers can actually shop themselves and transact themselves without actually interacting with a human being. So we've seen an uptick in the amount of kiosks that have been activated. And it's really neat. You know, the customer books a tee time, they get an email, or in their mobile app, they have a QR code. They can literally just walk up to the kiosk at the golf shop and scan their phone and check themselves in. And if they have a credit card on file, they can use that stored credit card that they left during the booking process to actually check themselves in and pay for them and their guests. It's a new feature, so we're still understanding it, and we're still understanding how customers are interacting with it. We've got some pretty cool ideas. To complement the self-service type of world, we're actually working on a mobile check-in feature. So we're hoping to ship that product in the coming month or so, where golfers will actually be able to check themselves in, obviously respecting the club's guidelines, themselves on their mobile device without actually having to go to a kiosk. Where we're seeing this tool being used the most is actually for members. So those clubs that are still open, that do have their pro shop open, we're seeing our customers put an iPad in the men's and ladies locker room, and so members don't have to, you know, they can avoid going into the pro shop and just checking themselves in as they're getting changed.
Hey, David, just one question from the group. Just concerns with PCI, and how do you deal with storing golfer credit cards and how that interacts with Stripe?
Yeah, so it's a great question, because I think PCI compliancy should have its own seminar right now. So on our end, we don't store any of the customer's credit card information. Stripe, which is the backbone of our payments platform, you know, they have military grade SSL encryption. So neither your staff or yourself as an operator would actually have access to the full credit card. You would only see the last 4 digits and the expiry dates. So none of that stuff is hosted on our platform. It's all securely hosted on Stripe's platform.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. So Lightspeed, which is our parent company, sorry, they're actually one of their big differentiators in the point of sale space is they were the first to come with an omni-channel solution. For those that are not familiar with omni-channel, it's basically those retail stores that have physical inventory, but then have that same inventory with its quantity available on a website online. So this is not something we actually sold quite regularly in golf. A lot of golf courses were kind of overwhelmed, maybe intimidated with actually having to set up the shop. We've actually seen a huge uptick in e-commerce activations, not only in the general retail landscape, but just in golf itself. I'm not going to give you guys numbers, but it's in the thousands of % year-over-year growth. We're seeing golf courses now actually adapt this new notion of, hey, you know, if my pro shop can't physically open, you know, I still have a huge overhead of inventory that I need to get rid of. So let's use this available bandwidth we have right now as our golf courses close and create these online shops. And the big benefits for golf courses using our e-commerce platform has been strictly the fact that it's the exact inventory you have in your shop. So you're not entering inventory or receiving inventory in your pro shop and then having to copy that and put it online. That SKU is actually automatically available online unless you tell it not to. So it's really cool to actually see golf courses adapt best practices from other spaces and introduce them to golf. And once again, it's all about giving your consumer the choice, right? This may not be the best product for your golf course, but if you are a golf course that's in a well-situated, you know, metro area and already has a good online presence, you know, this might be something you want to look into with your provider.
Is this something that, sorry, David, is this something that you're looking to integrate into the self-check-in or the kiosk to be able to cross-sell or upsell retail, or I need golf balls when I show up to the course on the check-in side?
Yeah, so in the earlier slide, we saw the booking extra feature, which allows golfers to upsell themselves, and maybe that's the term I should have used, which I do all the time. So thanks for bringing it to my attention, Rick. So the idea here was to create a booking experience which allows golfers to upsell themselves during the booking process, ultimately adding those necessities that most golfers get when they show up at the club: sleeve of balls, driving range basket, rental set, pull cart. And we're seeing here how a customer is using it quite differently, right? So they're using it for food bank donations. But yes, the product itself was built for hard and soft goods and services that are normally purchased at the time of check-in and not during the online booking.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. That's a really good point. Yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about here in terms of technology is the shift of our customers moving to an online delivery service. So we actually have a direct integration with pretty much every major food delivery service in North America. Obviously the big ones, including Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Foodora. Most golf courses, in these metro areas, and that have a good following of members and public golfers, have an opportunity to actually become the local bar and grill and not just the golf course restaurants. There's some great food coming out of some of these golf courses, and I think delivery should be something that's there all the time. It's obviously very relevant right now with the current state of the golfing space and just the restaurant industry in general. Like I alluded to earlier, pretty much every restaurant out there outside of golf is actually online on one of these delivery services, and golf should not be the exception, right? I think it's time we start looking at how the restaurant industry is doing it as a whole and learning from that. And the same way when I was talking about the e-commerce portion earlier is the same way you don't have to close your pro shop because you have an online store, you don't need to close your golf course restaurant because you decide to offer delivery. It's just a new channel of revenue. And the benefits of our customers going with the service right now is if you are using our restaurant solution, there's zero investment required. It's just a software that we plug into your existing POS. You don't need to create a different menu. It's your existing menu. You pick and choose which menu items are available on these delivery services. And it actually helps your delivery SEO. So if you've actually never heard of delivery SEO, is when you type in delivery near me, it's always like the big restaurants that actually offer delivery that show up first on Google. This is actually going to boost your SEO. So if I'm from out of town, 6 months down the road, I'm in New York, and I type in, quesadilla for delivery, heck, we might see a golf course there, instead of seeing the local Mexican.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's SEO and everything.
There's SEO and everything, and I think once again, you could probably hold a 2-week conference on Google's algorithms and try and explain to people how that works. But I think these are things that people need to be made aware of. Our approach to all of this has not been, hey, we've got technology, buy it. We're actually giving all of this stuff away free of charge for 3 months. To our existing customer base with zero implications. Now's not the time to try to milk an udder. The udder is dry, in all fairness, and we just want to make sure that if the golf course has an opportunity to stay afloat, come to us. We're a technology provider. We've got some cool things that you may not be comfortable with normally using, but these are unprecedented times, and you need to get creative.
Great, thank you. There was a question on why do you limit bookings to 2 golfers? And I might have missed the example that you were showing. I'm assuming it might be during the self-check-in or the kiosk mode.
Well, what we actually saw was, and this may have been a bit premature, that data was taken a few weeks ago. Now, okay, slowly but surely, golf courses are starting to open up. The ones that were remaining open were only allowing a maximum of 2 golfers to book at a time online. And they were actually asking the golfers to call the clubhouse if your reservation is more than 2 people, just to make sure you don't have, 4 random strangers or a group of 3 people playing with a single. So it was just one of the small strategies that we kind of noticed a common denominator in some of the tee sheets. And after digging a bit deeper, we were like, okay, they just don't want, groups of 4 or 5 booking at once. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's pretty much it for me. Yeah. I guess we'll do a QA after all of this, but if anybody has any questions, reach out to me at david@chronogolf.com. I'd be more than happy to, walk you through some of this technology or just, offer some best practices and stuff we've seen from our customers.
I appreciate it, David.
Next
up will be Tim. He spoke earlier as a moderator for an earlier presentation, and I believe he has a deeper dive into the iZone technology.
Let's see here if we can get this to go. Thank you, Rick. David, great job. When Jack asked us to speak this afternoon on the technology, it was really about what are we doing in the existing world of technology in our roadmap at iZone and now post-COVID. So it wasn't to be self-serving. We just said, let's give you a lens into what we've been seeing and what we're doing next and why we're doing it. And then we'll just answer some questions at the end as well. Our problem we're trying to solve right now, always as a technology provider, is can we let the golf course operator have a better communication and interaction with their golfer, whether they're in a regular cart, walking, and now in this single rider environment. And by being able to, use that GPS as a beacon, as well as a companion app? Can we have that interaction point happen even more readily when we're thinking about not touching and not interacting and 6 foot, as my friend Don Ray and his 6 foot stick, we're trying to be that policing environment as that's there. Our technology, why we think it kind of matters in this new world and where we're headed, is simply we're agnostic, so we can fit on any brand of a cart, on the single rider or the dual. These units can be self-installed. So we debuted that at the PGA show. We think that it was kind of looking ahead, and now we don't have to put technicians out there, a maintenance team that's already dealing, interacting with cleaning those carts. They can do all that themselves. They're not required to have a power cord. They don't have to do any of that touching while they're there. And then we're trying to make this affordable. As David just said very well, now is not the time to increase prices to the point where people can't afford it. We need to bring solutions in this new world as we come out of it, whenever that may be. And so we're looking at this as a who's open today in about half of the states, and then who's closed. And as we said in the morning session, those that are closed, we're really encouraging them learn from the courses that are open. We're in Arizona, and we've been blessed to have a place to get out and have, your home, Rick, or Trune. All these guys get to go play, but like Don and Rock this morning, they've had to learn the hard way. What's the way to set this up? So I encourage all these golf courses to please reach out to those that are already open and take their best practices. They've had a 5 to 6 week window now to have a hard learning curve of where they're going. So we've always had this marketing platform that kind of is a player, and we're seeing more golf courses now talk about, while it's entertainment and media, it's kind of a way to just get away from this stress. And not that it's not great to be quarantined with my wife and kids, sometimes just to have a little breather. So we're letting them put on sports and travel and finance, and there's no sports on TV. So if there's some highlights like last night's MJ's The Last Dance, that's something, just kind of a break to feel like we're back to something that's normal. So we're letting them really utilize that themselves on the properties for themselves, as also a way to offset any costs that they may need to do so. So we took a long look. We know the Chrono team well. We're huge fans of Lightspeed and Chrono, and our peers at Tag Marshall, and our peers at Supreme, and all those that are out there trying to do what's best right now. And I know Bodo will have a great session as well. But we said, how do you look at what's happened with the restaurant world, having to shut so much of it down, but yet they got ahead of the curve of saying we have to react quickly. So how can we as a technology provider learn from One Dine, learn from Apple Pay, in the sense of it's touchless, and we already have a companion app. Whether you're riding in a cart, whether you're walking, you can now utilize that for food and beverage. And can we bring that to the golf course world quickly, so they have the same type of solutions that the restaurant space has had to reconfigure overnight, as David really pointed out. So we're working on these things, Rick. Member for a day functionality. How do I get to, feel like I got to the golf course, I checked myself in, I interacted with the staff, I went and played my round, I had a great food and beverage experience, but I felt like a member for the day. And the earlier session around processing, can you integrate that in the point of sale? Can you make this a turnkey solution? Working on more APIs with all the t-shirt providers. Obviously, you've got and Chrono and all the great ones that are out there. Everyone's trying to rally around and say, what can we do to lift the industry right now and make it easier for the golfers to say, I need to go play. I want to get out there. I want to be safe, but I want to interact. And if we can do that, be a bridge. Enhancing the food and beverage offering. Is it a delivery service? Are we running it out to them so it's a little bit simpler for them not to have to feel like they're going indoors? Everybody has a different mindset. Some just don't care. Some are wearing a mask and they're super sensitive. We got to serve, I think, both of those classes of individuals. We're collecting all this data as we go, so if we can, we'll share it back with the USGA and those industry leaders to say, here's what we're seeing and what we're finding on a best use case and an average use case. And that gives us then the ability to now track, if you think about it, if you're a resort property and you've got housekeeping carts, people mover carts, how is that being tracked and know where they're going, so that if something did arise or someone did come down, are you able to go backwards and see where that happened? And we're building that into our technology. And then lastly, enhancing the cloud industry or the data repository for the industry to see and to share. We do 2 products on the golf carts. As you said, riders or individual, and then obviously in the back of the Eyes on Ride is the back of the Uber and the Lyft cars. So looking at both of those, how do you create that total technology where humans are trying to have an interaction point that's touchless, and make that be very simple. This slide kind of just speaks about, there's 15,000 courses in the US, and still surprisingly, less than 13,000, still don't have GPS, so don't utilize it. And it's always been price and price and price. And I think all of us on the provider side are saying, how can we lower our price, absolutely get it out to the industry so they have a solution. And it's going to be us teaming up together, I think. We're going to have to come together and say, let's do our best practices. You're a T-sheet and point of sale, we're a GPS. Let's bring those things together and make it much simpler for a golf course operator, because they need the help that they can get now. We still have the fun stuff, the look-ahead features, live cart-to-cart scoring, Golf Genius interaction and integration. You can do skins, Nassau, and Wolf, so you can gamble with your buddies, but not worry about who touched the pencil last. Right. And I mean, it sounds crazy, but this is the new place we're in. And so now those things are becoming more relevant when it's right here, and I'm just using my phone to do all that interaction point. And then, as we said, shot tracking and keeping your stats. So we went to our national media partners and said, hey, can we get more content from CNN and from Bloomberg just so we have better content that people can have as a distraction? They're bringing us that content. We're playing it inside of that player and letting brands go, hey, we're still here. We're still in business. We still need to, we're brick and mortar. We're still trying to sell beer. We want to be that bridge that brings all of that, and that technology is built. And that's why these added technology partners and integration partners like Verizon Media and Bloomberg said, if we can help the golf world, which is in so many places today is an essential business, and we can start helping bridge the gap to the local market, that's interesting technology that starts to say, hey, I want to sell a car again. I want a car dealership. I want to work with you, golf course. How do we bring those things together? That's all technology that's now built and is out there for them to utilize. Last couple slides, because I want to get to Bodo's session as well, but we built an online platform that's Android-based, that's giving you dashboard analytics in the meantime. That's, again, rider, single rider, or walker, and so you can do that from your home. There's only one person in the pro shop now. How are they managing all the functions of a shop when they're wearing 10 hats? As Don Ray said, he's out washing carts, putting carts away, checking people in. Well, we want to be able to have them on their phone. They can run and operate their whole back-end system from our platform, and that's available then today. We enhance all the graphics so golf courses feel like they get a custom experience, that the renderings are all completely custom, not just a Google map. And we built technology, Rick, that says, golf course, you go in and we'll design it for you, but you take all the changes. So if you do a bunker renovation, or you do have that CapEx budget that you were going to plan this year to do greens, and you're still going to do them this summer, then you come out of that, it's already changed and it's updated and it's all done for you. We don't charge you for it. We just want to give it back so that the golf experience for the golfer is great, and they keep coming back, because we need to get some fluidity happening again. And then lastly, we put a lot of energy in, since we're self-install, what are people doing with member-owned carts, or resorts that have people that have trail fees, member-owned? Because we're self-install, we said, why don't we let those courses that have it, let their member-owned carts install GPS. Now you can see where they're on your property. You can manage them, you can geolocate them, you can do your geofencing, but you also can communicate. So if they have a need, or they have a food and beverage order, everyone's participating, not just those guests coming through the front door of the club, but also those folks with member-owned carts and trailhead carts as well. I'll turn it over to...
Yeah, really great technology, Tim.
You bet. Let me undo this here for you and give him the screen.
All right, Bodo.
Thank
Thanks
you
again for presenting earlier. Makes it for a long day for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, no problem. I did get a bit of a break earlier, and I had a big pillow fight with my kids because they were being very, very nice and quiet. Let me share my screen as well. And then we A4 away. So just confirm you can see that.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, all good. Tim, interesting. Thanks for the presentation. Also, David, interesting. I used to build optimization systems for the biggest brewer in the world, and they said if there's an economic downswing and if there's a crisis, alcohol sales go up every single time. So that is something for us to keep in mind on the course as well. So take to the rescue. Tag marshal technology. Yeah, we coined the wording golf course intelligence. We use GPS and IoT and data analytics to optimize on-course operations. yeah, we work with about 300 clubs at this point. There's your 30 of the top 100, including your Kiowa, Erin Hills, Pinehurst, Bandit, Dunes, Whistling Straits, and what have you, but also good private clubs, Westchester, Valhalla, Castle Pines. Yeah, some of the best, but also 250 of middle of the road clubs, and that's important because that's where most of the golf gets played. We've tracked 10 million rounds of golf at this stage, and we're a data company, so we can learn a lot from about 1 billion data points. And obviously, our customers also seeing that some of them are the best in the game. They're always pushing us for better, and they're pushing us for more, and we learn from them because we're a technology business. We're not operators. So we keep our ears very closely to the ground so that we can give them the optimal solutions. And one of the things that I found that I saw recently was a very fun meme. Who drove your organization's digital transformation? CEO, CTO, COVID-19? And I think that goes in line with what David was saying earlier, that a lot of clubs are now making that jump. Also consumers are making that jump to adjust that behavior sooner than they would have because they're being forced to. I think we need to maybe also just take a step back and look at how are we responding to this crisis. And there's certain sort of crisis response mechanisms that we have as humans. And it's the same whether our house is on fire or there's a saber-toothed tiger outside our cave, or it's a pandemic like this. So the first one is fear and uncertainty. The second one is mitigation. And then the third step is how can we make this work and adapt so we can be successful into the future. And I think you're all familiar with this adoption curve that I've put on here. It is exactly the same in the crisis response adoption. So there will be clubs, there will be operators that are saying there's absolutely no way that we can make any changes. We have to hold on to what we have. And there's others that are saying, well, we can't do it the way we used to. We have to actually make changes now. This is an opportunity because everybody is already in change mode. And the clubs really need to find out who they are in this space. And there's no wrong or right. And obviously the future will decide that. But we've always found that yeah, it depends on who you talk to and how ready they are as individuals, but also as organizations to make changes like this. So what I would like to do is just quickly share a few stats. There's already been some phenomenal stats being shared this evening. And we had a webinar last week on Thursday, so it's really fresh, 3-4 days old, with Pinehurst, Eastlake, and Meisner Country Club. And some of the points that came out of that were also 150 people. A sample of 150 is not necessarily representative, but what was interesting was that 90% of them were closed right now for play, but still 43% felt very positive that they'll see more play because golf is in a great position, thankfully. And you can see that up here, all the usual pastimes, gym, football, tennis, basketball, swimming, even watching it is off the table right now. Golf, you can play social distance. Running, you can do cycling, but the moment you add competition to running and cycling, that's when you start touching people. That's when it becomes more difficult. So golf is really in a unique position. And then there were another 37% that were somewhat positive, and only 20% were uncertain. And I don't blame them because right now their club is closed and they can't play. There's also many European clubs and Canadian clubs. But not a single person thought golf was in trouble. So this is really positive. What's also good to see is that open golf courses and safe outdoor activity has had a huge Google search spike. So people are looking for that opportunity, looking to get out. Like somebody joked earlier, it's all nice being pent up with your wife and kids, but if you can get out there and have meet up with some friends, that gives you a level of sanity. And obviously there's not much else on. So what a lot of the operators are actually saying is there's lots of clubs driving more play than they would. That was also mentioned earlier. Above average play here, that's NGF data, 32% of clubs. And a lot of them attribute that to coronavirus. So there's opportunity in this, there's opportunity for golf, and we're really in a good position. So what I would like to do quickly is just look at 6 data-powered steps that our partners use to attract and retain golfers. So the first one, and that's something that Peter from Blaze first mentioned, is communication. You want to now provide the safest possible environment, and you need to define and overshare and repeat what your safe golf rules and processes are internally and externally, so that your own team knows exactly what's going on. They can communicate well with the people coming through the gate, and you do it externally because that is what attracts players right now. That experience is really what people are looking for at this point. So what our team has done, because we've got all these customers in various locations, including Europe that were ahead of the curve in their response to this pandemic. We've looked at what are the best practices, and much like Chronogolf have done, we've also put up what we call a safe golf platform. So we've literally put it together. Here are the top 10 points. That's what you can do. And this is also what you can communicate. So it's really a drop and go when it comes to your social media, your club communications, and also how players need to behave. Because why do we need to make all those experiences ourselves? We can learn from others and we can learn from the best. And another thing that we did is because the clubhouses are off limits right now, check-in processes have changed. Well, communicate that. The moment people feel secure, and it's great that Chronogolf, for instance, are doing this on check-in, that you know these are the steps that we need to take. Well, because we're mapping out all these clubs, we thought, isn't it great if we can just visualize it for them so they can share it and they can put it on their website and everybody can see this is where I go. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Because the moment I feel secure as a player, I feel safe, that's a space I want to be in.
Yeah, that's really powerful there. I mean, communication and the way you communicate is I mean, that's pretty slick there.
Thanks, Rick. So the point 2 is track or play. So that is something that's very important when it comes to walkers, because a lot of clubs are offering walking golf. Well, if I don't know where people are, how can I control that? How can I control and provide a safe space for them? Single riders, carts, so that is your golf boards, your single riders, the novelties that we were spoken about earlier. Anything can be tracked, and really using technology to manage that social distancing. Last year, pace of play, flow of play was the biggest topic in the game, and this year it's the same, because social distancing, that's what it is in practice. You want to provide a safe space. You want to provide a space where playing groups keeping their distance. There's no congregation, there's no bunch ups, and we need to do that proactively and accurately. So that's where technology really helps. And if you have the best algorithms to really determine this is a problem group, this is where you need to intervene, or this is where you need to send a message, that really helps making sure people are aware of this. And it's really game changing, where last year it was a case of we used to teach people not to go up to a player and say, hey guys, you're slow, speed it up. Well, don't do that. Players don't want to be called slow. Say you're out of position. And this year, all you have to do is say, guys, you're a bit out of position. We all want this course to be open, and we want you guys to be safe. So this is what I would like you to do, get back into position so we can keep our distance. So very easy, and that's what the clubs have been doing. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is, are we doing this well enough right now? Like, because there's different variables out on the course. There's single riders, there's walkers. It's maybe different to what we're used to. And I think we need to be very mindful that without real data and real oversight, it's very difficult to actually control that. So here's an example. You've got 3,000 rounds played in March at an Arizona club down the road from you, Tim, in the Wild West. And they're playing to a 4-hour goal time. The average round time is coming in at 4:06. And you would say, hey guys, you're doing this really well. But the reality is that 27% of these groups were on pace or faster. And obviously that's where your twosomes are really speeding ahead. Your early rounds are speeding ahead. But the rest of the day, your 73% is out of position, is slow. And if you break this down further, if you look into the data, there's 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes over. And that is where congregation happens. And that is where people are bunching up. And that is when you get those phone calls. I'm not feeling safe on the course right now because there's 4 groups backed up on the 14th hole. And this is where technology can really help, making sure that we control that well. And one of the things that was mentioned earlier, well, should we not just space out intervals? Well, that is something that hurts you very quickly because you're giving away so much capacity. So it is much, much cheaper to invest in technology than it is to give away capacity. So the 4th point is to use actionable data to manage your course performance, so that you really understand what are the setups at work, how do our holes perform, where are the bottlenecks and flow risks, what are the intervals at work, maybe they need to be dynamic, what are the goal times at work, maybe those need to be dynamic. Some of our customers like Pebble Beach or Care, they're running dynamic goal times where you start the day at 50 minutes faster than you end the day. And if you pull the day along, you're really stretching out your field and making sure that you're getting a really good result when it comes to that distancing that you're looking to provide. Starter accuracy is more important than ever, because what you want to do is for people to adhere to those intervals and not bunch and not cause issues by going off a bit earlier or a bit late. And most importantly, staff efficiencies. We have to do more with less now. You mentioned it earlier. If you've got 3 or 4 or 5 people managing an operation that used to have 25 or 30 or 50, you can only do that if you have oversight and technology like you might get from Izon or ourselves. And lastly, collect data to benchmark and keep improving, because how do we know if we're doing well if we're not benchmarking, if we're not tracking our performance? And that is something that Peter as well from Players First mentioned. We have to have that improvement mindset and keep looking for better and keep looking for what are the next variables that we can tackle. And lastly, it stops again with communication. So if you're doing this well, you need to share those results. You need to share those processes and those successes, because that is what your players then communicate to others. We were talking about the Net Promoter Score earlier. The Net Promoter Score meaning I will recommend this club and would recommend you become a member here, or would recommend you play your rounds here. If we are doing this well, and if we can show that there's results that are keeping people safe, and there's results that are making sure that the players have the experience that they're coming for, they will communicate that and they will become resellers on your behalf. So that is really a retention strategy and a loyalty strategy second to none. And an example here is what technology can really do in year 1 flow results of a single month where everything is red and bad and 40, 50 minutes over. The same month, the same traffic 1 year later, everything's balanced and green. And that is where you're really giving people time, and also you're making sure that everything's stretched out and they're socially distanced. Also, we have to be mindful, what are the opportunities with more people working remotely, like David is doing really well up in Canada. And maybe we have more flexibility now to play a quick round, right? Because we're not in traffic for 2 hours a day. So an opportunity that a lot of our partners are chasing here is to really single out fast lane rounds where you can do your standard goal time an hour faster, and you start your day with the first 5-6 rounds quicker, and you can say, I can guarantee you a 3 hour 20 round at this course that will make sure that you can get to your next Zoom call on time. And a lot of people say, well, I jump on that. That's fantastic, because normally I don't know what I'm going to get. If it takes 5 hours, I have to say no. So this is an opportunity, and it really becomes an optimization opportunity, one from a savings and staff savings point, an hour savings point of view, but also from how can we have use what we have and get more out of that asset. So I hope that that was helpful. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to jump and try and answer those.
Great, thanks, Bodo. So I'm going to open up a few questions of my own to the group in general. One of the biggest things, is we come out of post-COVID, we'll call it, things will be, still in cost control mode, I'd assume. And owners and boards will be a little bit more hesitant to invest in new technologies. Can you guys kind of go around the table and describe how either your platform or technology in general can provide some sort of ROI, through cost avoidance, cost replacement, or adding different revenue streams?
Sure, I can start. Or
Go ahead,
Tim. No, so first off, I put on a shirt because Rick and Tim looked so dapper, and I felt so out of place. But so I think if we go back, it's a great question. I think if we go back about a year and a half, 2 years ago, the big buzzword in golf was loyalty, and everybody's messaging was, if email marketing is your only marketing strategy, then you're going to be left behind. So we started seeing golf courses adapt to introducing more sophisticated and comprehensive loyalty programs as a great retention tool and a way to encourage spending. And if I were to try to find some parallels with adopting new technology now, I kind of think of the whole loyalty era when that was the big buzzword, and before that it was dynamic pricing, and we were able to actually see some positive yields from that. So if we look at restaurants and opening up delivery channel or just online ordering, you're definitely going to see a return on that investment, and more importantly, you might attract a new audience. And I think a new audience is what golf needs right now. So that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
I was going to say, maybe not anything from our technology, but it's the communication of the technology. A lot of the things we talked about this morning, it's that Top Golf crowd that can't go to Top Golf. and now they're coming. And I think, Rick, hats off to you and Troon. I mean, you guys are doing so many initiatives in Strauss to really make sure the world knows what's available when you get here, how you bring your family, as David said, how we make it safe. Some are, as I said earlier, some are hypersensitive to touching the flagship, and some are, it's just normal day-to-day business. So how do you blend everybody? And I think a lot of the clubs that we saw, I was at a public golf course yesterday, they're doing it right at the bag stand. Here's how we're handling this. Here's what we expect of you today. We'd love to have you support us because we want to keep golf open. And as Rock said in this morning's session, that's so critical. The states that have golf open, it's a privilege. And I think we have to step back and say, as technology providers, are we doing what we can behind the scenes subtly just to make that process simpler? And that's really what we should focus on.
Yeah. Bodo, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thanks. From a ROI point of view, so for us, the directive is very clear that it's a savings opportunity because you can do more with less. And we know, and from the conversation that we've had also recently, is that that's more important now than ever because there's less resources, also less touch points are recommended. So you can't necessarily put as many people out there as you normally would in terms of staff. And doing more with less also plays into a program that we've put together, that we've got a 6 months no payment to get started, because we do realize that clubs are under pressure right now. So that is something that we've put together with our finance partner, and that has been tremendously well received. And funny enough, for us, that might become a new normal. And why would we not also change alongside this? And then secondly, revenue maximization. Because you need to get the most out of what you're already doing and not leave anything on the table. So this is where really optimizing your course in terms of all those variables that drive additional revenue out there. Anything that drives screen fees, anything that drives capacity when it matters. It may not be every day of the week, but it might be 2 or 3 days of the week. Or it might be certain pockets of days of the week that you can really design the space with optimal staffing, optimal setups, optimal variables to really get the most out of it. And that's where also it pays to really have strong partnerships like with our integration partners, like for instance, Chronogolf, EasyLinks, 40s, Club Essentials. You're literally plugging into existing environments, so it's not a big and heavy learning curve for people. It's a plug and play, and off you go, and you get immediate benefits.
We'll stick with you here on this question, Bodo. So as we, again, we're looking post-COVID here, where do you think technology companies, specifically within the golf industry, should concentrate on as far as innovation to help attract new golfers or retain the casual golfer, specifically kind of the younger group, we'll call them millennials. Just kind of what are your thoughts on that, on where should the golf industry from a technology side concentrate on?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm from what we're learning is that there's a real opportunity for golf to have a surge in play right now because there's so little alternatives. So that a non-committed player might actually play more. Also, Topgolf that 2018 did 18 million rounds is closed right now. Hopefully not for long, but there's opportunity getting people out on the course. Like we said earlier, we need to also look at if our prospective customers and members are working remotely and they have less commute, they're more flexible, then we need to be flexible as operators. We need to be flexible and say, okay, I can fit you in for a 3-hour full 18, for instance, and we can customize our experience a bit more. And also that is worth something to people so that we can, it's a case of, I've got a certain amount of time available and on a certain day a week, when can you fit me in so I can make that happen with my adjusted, more flexible lifestyle. And that's where keeping things a bit more dynamic and flexible, but still having the control and understanding what you're doing is really helpful. And also, funny enough, that's exactly what the under 40s are after, because you can't always control your family life and so on. And if you do get a chance to go out, there needs to be control in terms of you need to know what you're going to get. And right now, that means I want to save space, and I want to know that there's consistency in if I'm trusting a club to look after me, one from a safety point of view, but also from how much time do I have to go and play.
Thank you. David, do you have anything to add?
No, that was actually very, very well said. The one thing that comes up a lot in my inner thoughts is like, are we trying to protect something in golf? Are we in a scenario now where we actually, can stop protecting and start getting creative? We're trying to hold on to this tradition, to this, this etiquette, right? That, we try so hard to respect, but you start looking at other industries and how they're evolving and shifting and getting creative, as Bodo said. I think that's key right now, right? It's, is the t-shirt and jeans a big thing, right? That's enough to not attract a certain demographic, right? Technology can play a role in that as well, but I think the underlying message here is, let's veer off, what we're comfortable with and try new things and see what sticks, right? Like, you're never going to know what sticks unless you throw a few things at the wall, right? And and this idea of just trying to protect this thing called golf, well, it's not true. Everything's evolving around us in golf. The technology is getting better, hardware and the software you guys are using at the club. The golf courses are getting longer. Just everything's changed. The way we dress is changing, right? The way that people wear skin tight shirts on TV these days, like you have never seen that, 10 years ago. So it's just a matter of like maybe letting go of like what we also love and saying, hey, look, we're in a new reality and let's get creative. And I don't think technology providers are the best suited to actually guide that. I think the people, working the counter, the people that have invested into these golf courses, the operators, the owners, these are the people that are going to make a change. We can just, technology provider, we can just facilitate the technology that we think could be best suited for a golf course.
Well said. Tim, I'm going to give you the last word here.
I'm going to wear a t-shirt and hat next panel. So David feels better. And number two, that's what we're trying to bring the fun to it, right? Let these guys gamble on their phone. Let them have live cart-to-cart or phone scoring. Let them interact with each other. So I think Bodo and David said it very well. It's just we gotta remember everybody. We have to be safe. We have to be healthy. We have to be protected. But once you're there for a reason. You want to get outside. You want to have a blast. You want to go just get some steam off of this quarantine. And I don't think we're doing enough maybe to just remember golf is fun. And let's not forget that part of it.
Well said. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I will kick it back to you, Jack.
Yeah, thank